Thank you so much for your time on the show today, Tajudeen. Now, let's start by getting your assessment of the half-year performance of Nigerian cement makers.
Okay, so the half-year performance of the cement makers in Nigeria, shows some resilience, considering the fact that the second quarter of 2020 was characterized by lockdowns. Specifically speaking, we had Lagos, Ogun State, as well as Abuja, which are three key cities where the cement manufacturers in Nigeria, sell their businesses, to, or sell their products to. So we had full 5 weeks of lockdowns, in those three cities starting from the end of March. So that, sort of impacted the volumes, the sales volumes of the cement manufacturers, in Q2. Nonetheless, there is one key element that we noticed in the Q2 performance of the cement, producers. It is the fact that prices were broadly supportive of their revenue, in Q2, and that came on the back of the price increases that they implemented towards the end of 2019. So that was supportive of, sort of the revenue in Q2. Nonetheless, Lafarge Africa recorded about 5.1% decline in revenue in Q2, while Dangote Cement also reported about 2.4% decline in revenue in Q2. Broadly speaking, I would say the performance was resilient, despite the fact that it was, largely speaking, a period of full lockdowns in some cities, and also a bit of disruption to supply, of cement or distribution of cement to major cities across Nigeria.
All right, Tajudeen, but what about the competition in the space, and how do you see things playing out going to the full year?
Okay, so the full year competition most likely will be characterized by a ramp-up in production volume, considering the fact that BUA, for instance, now has, the second largest capacity. So one would expect, the new plants that, were recently installed by BUA to begin to ramp up production volumes in the second half of the year. We think this will be, largely speaking, driven by, the lifting of lockdowns in those three cities that I mentioned earlier, and also some sort of, lifting of restrictions of movement, across the country. And then we expect, BUA, for instance, to ramp up, on its production volume. And if we talk about Dangote Cement, that cement manufacturer has the capacity, to favorably compete in the industry. So one would expect, them to push out, more volumes by the time the, economy recovers in the last quarter of this year, bearing in mind that, the third quarter is characterized, with, rain. So one would expect that during the rainy season, there will be a bit of a slowdown. But in Q4, BUA and Dangote Cement, in my view, appear, are well positioned to drive volume growth. And one would expect Lafarge Africa being the third, sort of player in the industry in terms of installed capacity, to also see some volume growth in the, particularly speaking, in the the western part of the country, and also around Ashaka, where they are, largely speaking, well positioned in terms of the transporting of cement.
All right, but talking about strategies to drive volume growth, we've seen Dangote, implement their maiden clinker shipment from Nigeria via their Papa export terminal to Senegal in June. And I'd like to get your thoughts about this development and how you see things shaking things up.
Okay, so if you take a look at volume growth in terms of the ability of the cement manufacturers to export, I would say that Lafarge Africa remains, well positioned, to transport or export cement through, the Infamosin plant. So we expect that to be supportive of their volume growth. From Dangote Cement, they've been able to, export clinker to Senegal, and one would expect that in the second half there will be, some improvement on the export front, particularly to the neighboring African countries. So if we talk the export market, Dangote Cement, is a lot compelling, and one would expect much to happen in the second half of the year. And so as I said earlier, Lafarge Africa is also, doing something interesting, using the, the Calabar channel to export to African countries. So in terms of exports, there should be an improvement in the second half of this year.